The February jobs report actually came in soft. Not even as good as it looks because there were so many down revisions in the prior reports. So let's talk about this with Breitbart's John Carney and our own Taylor Riggs, co-host of The Big Money Show right here on Fox. John, of course, is the co-author of the cult-following Breitbart Business Digest. Taylor, I'm going to go to you. You're the only person on the 20th floor that can interpret these. But, okay, so this number came in, but actually 167,000 down in revisions for the prior months. The January bulge, not all of it, but much of it was taken away. Can you give us a quick riff on that?
Right, so the headline number looks great, right? 275. The problem, as you mentioned, is the downward revisions for December and January, which wiped out 167,000 jobs. So a lot weaker than we expect. I don't think people want to say that we don't trust the data, but it's hard that when you get the data, you have to wait a month or two to get the downward revisions to understand what's really going on in the economy. I think some of the good news here for the Federal Reserve, they want to cut rates maybe in June because wage growth is decelerating. And so that is sticky wage inflation that looks like it is slowing down.
That's really screw the workforce. Get those wages down. Pretty soon we can turn them negative again like they were. John Carney, do you agree with Taylor, first of all?
Yeah, I think
softish, not collapsing. It's not a recession report.
No, it's definitely not a recession report, and I don't think it gives the Fed any room to cut, because if you look at the 3-month average, it's still 265,000 jobs per month. That is a lot of jobs creating. That's not a, oh no, we need to cut. Even the move up in unemployment to 3.9%, that's still a very low unemployment rate. We've just gotten spoiled because we've been down at 3.7 for a little while. I think that while this was soft and they took away a lot, even when you take away all of the jobs, first of all, we don't know if they're going to come back, because one of the things is these revisions go both ways. A month ago, they told us the December number was actually too low, and they revised that up. This month, they said, oh, no, we revised it too high. We're going to take it back down.
So on these points, why can't the government get it right? I think I know why in a general sense. I've been in and out of this business for a long time, including in government. But I think a lot of viewers, ordinary folks who do not have economics, analytic background or degrees or whatever, scratch their head and they say, what's up with this? What, are they lying to us? Is it political? Take a whack at that.
A big problem is that the response rates from businesses has gone way down. It was headed down pre-pandemic. It crashed after the pandemic. And so they're just not getting a lot of businesses sending in the forms saying, here's how many people we have on board right now. And so what that means is when they come back to the businesses, because they go back again when they do the revision and say, okay, no, really, guys, can you fill it out this time? And they do. And that's why you end up with all this wild volatility in the revision.
Taylor, you don't think that the bureaucrats in the Bureau of Labor Statistics are quote-unquote rigging the numbers?
No, I don't think so. I think that'd be a little bit of a stretch to go there. I think, like you said, it's harder and harder to gauge the data. I would also say that there is a huge divergence between the hard data, BLS numbers, versus soft data. What we're hearing from consumer sentiment, what we're hearing from people on the ground about grocery prices, about inflation, there's a big divergence there.
And I want to raise one other thing, just to complicate it. The non-farm payrolls, these are the large corporations with human resource departments that answer the phone and either tell the truth or they don't. But the small business-oriented household survey, from which unemployment is derived, all right? A lot of newspaper reports and media don't do it. Now, that thing's down 3 months in a row. Households are down 3 months and 3 of the last 4 months. And the yearly average, John, is only 56,000. Now, that number is hinting at a downturn.
Yes, but that typically gets revised towards the establishment number, not the other way around. So I would not. So I trust the establishment number. I think the household number is probably going to come up.
It's not all bogus. Not all bogus.
No.
I mean, nobody knows what these.
No, look. They really mean. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, no, I only want to say my only worry a little bit about this. I know that we're spoiled. I grew up with 3.5%, 3.7% unemployment. 3.9 looks a little scary. You had a few Fed speakers this week saying 4% unemployment starts to get the level where we do think about cutting. So the increase in unemployment is something that we're watching, even though maybe it is for good reason. More people are coming in and looking for work.
I am of an age 3.9% unemployment. unemployment is
I'm
unbelievable.
spoiled.
That used to
I
be
know.
regarded as full employment.
I know.
It basically is full. And I want as many people to work as possible. And I want the workforce to make as much money as possible with a zero inflation rate, et cetera, et cetera. But I think to say 3.9% unemployment means the Fed should start cutting interest rates. If they do, they're going to create a lot of election year friction. I'm just saying, I'm warning. So far, the Fed's done good, played it by the book, not too bad. But the inflation targets have not yet seriously been met. John, I just want to, what was the most egregious economic falsehood you heard last night in a speech full of economic falsehood?
Right. I mean, we went through all night long last night on Breitbart.
Yes.
We just fact-checked, an almost unlimited number of falsehoods. But what I will say, the worst one was when he said he eliminated the trade deficit.
Oh,
he said, we used
really?
to import goods and now we just export them. That's just not true at all.
How do you do that?
It is and if you look at the numbers, by the way, the trade deficit is much higher than it has been under any president ever. It went down a little last year. That is true. But that's just because we were at the record highs the year before that and the year before that. Every year of Biden's presidency has seen the worst trade deficit that there has ever been. And yet he has the nerve to try to claim that he got rid of the trade deficit.
The other is, I don't want to put Taylor on the spot. I'm just going to say, though, he keeps telling us that one of his accomplishments is that he cut the budget deficit by $1.7 trillion, which he's carried that for years. The Washington Post gave him bottomless Pinocchio on it, and he repeated it again last night. Now, it's just,
I know.
It's just patently not true. In fact, the CBO just put out new projections that the deficit in FY24 is probably
bigger.
Yeah, I know it's bigger. And it's going to come in probably over 1.7.
And this is,
where's his number? He keeps saying this number.
And this is deadly. I mean, we are talking to like Gen Z millennials on our program, and they are saying that we are now realizing how much we have to bear the burden of the dumb spending that's going on in government. If you TikTok influencers talking about how dumb the spending is, you really know how bad it is.
Do Gen Z kids work hard enough?
We're trying to push them.
I've got another big falsehood. He said he was adding manufacturing jobs.
Yes,
and he's not. Look at manufacturing jobs last year. By the way, in February, they shrank by 8,000. So he is not adding manufacturing jobs. That's another lie.
We're going to have this Gen Z discussion another time. Right now, it's John Carney and Taylor Riggs. You're both terrific. I can't keep a straight face. Don't forget, folks, you can catch Taylor with her co-host Jackie DeAngelis and Brian Brenberg on The Big Money Show. Weekdays, every day, 1 p.m. Eastern, right here on Fox Business.